In this video, we're going to be transforming this main floor bathroom. The small little sink here is a pedestal sink. We're going to keep the sink, but switch out the mirror and the faucet. And I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the faucet we're going to be installing in the bathroom. Thanks for clicking this video, by the way, and welcome to my channel. Let's show you what this looks like out of the box. I got this at Lowe's, but I'll put links down in the description below. As always, for this faucet and other supplies and tools you'll need, that is the mirror that we're going to be installing as well. Now, here is the main floor bathroom. It's not exactly in terrible shape, but you can see we've got this big square mirror here that's not exactly updated. And we've got this old school, kind of basic, crappy faucet. Chrome. The drain needs to be replaced as well. The pedestal sink is in pretty good condition, so we're actually going to be keeping that. Now let's take a look behind, because my first order of business is installing this faucet. I need to access the drain and everything behind it. And this pedestal sink is a little tight. There's the water inlet lines there, hot and cold. I can get to those pretty easily, the shut-offs. And that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to turn those and shut the water off, because we're going to be taking this apart, and obviously you don't want water coming out. So with those off, we're going to turn the handles on and let that water kind of drain. You could turn the handles on first and then turn your shut-off valves. These are not quarter-turn shut-off valves. These are the old school compression. So I got to keep cranking on them until the water flow stops. That is the goal here. So we've got the handles open and the water is indeed cut off or turned off. And that's important. I don't have to turn off the main water supply down in the basement. All right, let's get the new faucet out. This faucet was pretty affordable. It came with the drain included and all the hookups there. And it was around, I want to say $60 or so. Maybe even less. Got it on sale. In other words, it's not a $200 faucet, but it's not a $30 faucet. And I think it's going to look really nice. It's a brushed nickel and got great reviews online. I don't buy anything with mediocre or crappy reviews, so nothing but the best for the best price. All right, so let's pop the camera back here, and things are a little tight. This is the water inlet, and I'm basically trying to disconnect the old faucet under here, and it just kind of unscrews counterclockwise. And I have a towel down because there will be some excess water in those pipes. Now this is the drain piece. I'm going to take that off. You know that on the top of the faucet, that piece that you pull up to pull the drain? Well, I just need to move that out of the way so I can reach the right faucet handle and unscrew the water inlet there. That would be the cold water supply line. So we'll back that off. And that was pretty reasonably easy to access. Now this piece is a little more difficult. This is the plastic wing nut that kind of compresses tightly against the underside of your sink. And that's what tightens down the actual faucet piece on the other side. So that was a little more challenging, but good news, it's not on there super tight, so just enough to get it started, and you can back that out by hand. And then you can take out that drain piece, and that piece pulls off like that. So we'll get that out of there, and that basically allows me a little bit more room to attack the other plastic wing nut on the cold water. So just pliers to get it started if you can't do it by hand, and then it backs out really easily. And that will now allow you to remove the old faucet. Pretty easy, right? Ooh, cleaning that up is not going to be fun, but we will definitely do that. And I'll show you a little trick on how to clean up that nasty business here in a second. So next order of business is the drain. Now let me get the camera back here so you can kind of see the anatomy of the drain. Yours might be very different, but basically a series of tubes into the P-trap there, and then out into the wall. Now this is extremely difficult to get to, so what I'm going to do, position my towel here, and I'm going to unscrew this right here for the P-trap. This is the only one I'm unscrewing at this point because I really can't get my hands and my eyes back there. We're going to be taking out the pedestal sink. We've got it secured to a wall bracket with some caulking along the perimeter. So let's get out the X-Acto knife here. I recommend a brand new razor, super sharp. So you only have to cut once and not hack away at it. And we'll do a nice clean cut, basically separating. Oh, by the way, we need to get rid of that mirror, so hold on just a minute. Let's slide this mirror out. The mirror is held onto the wall by these little brackets. You could pop those up first and then take the mirror out, or slide it out. Either one is fine, and we'll take those brackets off of the wall, and that's going to allow me access to that caulk line on the pedestal sink. That is the goal here, taking out that pedestal sink so we can access the drain on the other side. And I've got a little crowbar to encourage it very delicately, just to help identify where my weak spots are, where else I may need to cut. And I'll do a little damage to the drywall when I cut. There we go. And my X-Acto knife. And everything's pretty much ready here. Now remember, it is attached to this bracket, so I have to lift up carefully on the pedestal sink and lift it up over that little bracket edge. And you'll get a better shot of that later when I go to put it back. But we've got the pedestal sink now, and it's kind of top heavy, so you have to be real careful here. But we do have great access to the drain. So with that pedestal sink removed and propped up against the wall, I can easily slip down the drain here, and that will basically be one piece, and I can go clean out that nasty P-trap. Get that all nice and clean. Doesn't have to be perfect, but years of gunk and whatnot will settle down there. By the way, I'm going to secure this just so it doesn't tip over. I do have kids. This is not fail-proof here. It will, if it falls, it'll snap that bungee. It's pretty heavy. But kids are out of here. And I'm going to patch that wall. And now I can use my pliers to take off the little wing nuts on the drain. Same system here that we saw kind of with that faucet. We've got these wing nuts. One's metal. There's a rubber gasket. And you basically just start unscrewing everything. There's the drain. Unscrewed that. There's that rubber gasket, and it might need a little encouragement. But we're basically going to back everything out. And a good idea to take a picture of this before you start. And so when you go to put all this back together again, and we'll have some new pieces from our new drain, but it might help to remember, oh, well, in which order did things go? So we're just backing everything out, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and it should just kind of come out like that. And with those gaskets and wing nuts or nuts removed, we should be able to now finally push out the drain. And you might need two hands here. There might be some caulking or some plumber's putty securing that. So we've got that out. Now we're going to go to cleanup mode here. We've got excess caulk that needs to be removed. We've got to repair the wall using some spackling and some paint. You can search my channel on how I do drywall repair. I've got a couple videos out there. Now, as far as this rigmarole, this nasty mess, in theory it should brush up. It's just like soap scum and dirt over the years, but I'm having some trouble with staining. My wipe only goes so far, so I'm going to use this stuff called, it's like pink or something. I'll put a link down below. This stuff I had never used before, but it's got this abrasive inside of it, and I was pretty surprised, actually. It cleaned this stuff up really easily and really well, so could not be happier. Now we're going to put things kind of back together again. We're going to get the new drain out. Now this drain comes with the faucet that I mentioned earlier, and it prides itself in no tools, super easy, no caulking, no plumber's putty. They've got these rubber gaskets here, so let me just show you how that works. You just drop it in the top. And doesn't that look beautiful? I like it. And then we take the base piece like that and make sure it's in the right order. There's a little black gasket. Remember, we took that old one off earlier. Well, this is the new one. And the instructions do tell you, in which order it goes. And there's a little plastic, and that basically prevents it as you tighten the plastic piece, prevents the rubber gasket from like bunching up. So it keeps everything nice and even as you compress that to where it needs to go. And you slide it up like that, and then twist lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And you're going to keep doing that. You may need 2 hands here. And here is the new faucet out of the box. It's got also a rubber kind of gasket on the bottom, this little plastic thing. So we're going to slip that through the existing holes, just like that, making sure it doesn't tip over or anything. And by the way, I'm doing this with the pedestal sink still removed, remember, because access is super important with these little pedestal sinks. It's really hard to get back there. So there's another shot. And what I'm doing, the new faucet comes with the little nuts that you're going to put up and screw them on to compress them to the underside of the sink, and that is what will lock your new faucet into place. There's a better shot right there. And you can do that all by hand. I did not have a tool to tighten that down, but I did make that extremely, a couple of grunts basically, is how tight I got that. You don't want to over tighten it, for goodness sakes, and crack anything. And we'll do a little cleanup here with the dust buster, get rid of some of that old caulking and whatever else may have fallen. The floor should not be too wet if we used a towel. And then we'll reassemble our drain, our P-trap piece that we had removed earlier. And that slid right up. And I'll need to tighten that very top one, because I didn't do that previously. Get that nice and tight like that. Basically a couple of grunts as well. I didn't use any tools. That rubber gasket should seal things up very nicely. And then I'm going to put my pedestal sink back onto the wall, to that little bracket. So I didn't have to remove that little bracket. Just kind of lifted it up and put it over the bracket. Just like that. There's that little bracket you can see. So it sits nicely on top of that. And then from there, I can go ahead and hook up my P-trap again. It should be aligned perfectly because we didn't change the height or the position of the pedestal sink at all. So it should just be a matter of lining it back up. And hand tighten that down. That P-trap should be nice and clean because we rinsed it out earlier, remember? And here it's a little awkward. Kind of got this hug technique going on. 2 hands kind of wrapped around the base of the pedestal sink to get the leverage that you need to tighten that by hand. But not a difficult job at all, just a little awkward, I would say. And this is what it looks like now with the new everything hooked back up. And we do need to tighten that again. It's a little loose, you can see. So we'll just keep going. You want that to be super snug. There should be no play in the drain at all. And get that snug, and we'll get the water lines hooked back up. We're using the existing water lines. However, if yours are pretty old, you may want to consider replacing those. Mine are about 8 years old, 7 years old or so, and in good condition. So we'll get those hand tightened back up. Maybe a grunt or two, making sure it's threaded properly. And we'll get the drain, continue to get that tight. You could do that all at once. You don't have to go back and forth like I'm doing. And it's kind of a question, well, how tight is tight enough? Well, I just had to use my best judgment here. All right, so we've got the water supply lines hooked back up. Now this sink, or this faucet, does come with an aerator, and they ask you, since you just installed it, to remove the aerator piece, and you got to get like a little button or a penny to do that. And when you turn the water supply lines back on, like this, you should let that run for X number of seconds or a minute to basically clear any sediment that had developed in the supply lines or that may be hanging out in the new faucet. Basically clear the lines first. And it'll kind of be a hot mess for a little bit, as that aerator needs to come out all the way. There we go. And then just let that go. All right, and that clears your line so that if you're, gonna drink some tap water or something, it should be good. Now let's test out that drain. That drain seems to be working well. And the big question is, are there any leaks? Did we hook everything back up correctly? The drain and the water supply line. So with dry hands, you're going to want to have things on full blast and monitor, feel, get your hand back there and feel any of the joys, any of the junctions where pipe meets pipe, or yeah, we're pretty dry. I don't see anything dripping. Anything that we disconnected, those joints need to be checked by hand also. Make sure they're tight enough. If not, you should call a licensed plumber. Make sure that is done correctly. You don't want to mess around with water. One of the major threats as a homeowner. There's a reason plumbers are qualified. Doing things like this DIY, you always run the risk of making things worse or doing more damage than you originally intended. But as long as I check this out, I feel pretty good about this job, and I'll continue to check over the course of several days. Here's that aerator piece. Kind of pops out like that. And yeah, this is what we're going to let run with that aerator piece out for a good minute or so. Clear those lines, and then you can put that aerator piece back in. And it just kind of screws on. And it might be worth taking out every so often to clean. So it's, I think, important to know how that aerator piece comes off and goes back on. And I would say that's true with all of your bathroom faucets. If they have a little aerator, back those out and see how moldy or gunky they are, or if there's any sediment that's been caught over the years. Bet you'd be surprised. And we've got the aerator piece back in. It's a nice stream, and I think a gorgeous new faucet. There's another shot for you, the final product. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this job. It saved me. I didn't have to buy any new thing for the new pedestal sink. We just did the drain and the faucet. Now I could hook up that mirror really quickly. I'll do that, and I'll make a separate video on how to hang a mirror in your bathroom, center it, and make sure it's secure and all that good stuff. But first, we need to recaulk that line. That helps with waterproofing. If you have splash, you don't want that kind of getting back there. So I've got some plain white bathroom caulking. It's like that bathroom tub. It's not 100% silicone. It is paintable. I don't want to use 100% silicone here because you can see it's not a perfect line after I've gone over it with my finger. And I'll need to get the paintbrush out and paint that so that it looks like a finished caulking line. Here's the mirror. Get that hung up. I used one of those little hook things that push into the wall. They're like monkey hooks, if you've seen those. So pretty easy job. Get rid of that tape. Again, I made a separate video on how to hang this exactly and position it. If you want to search my channel for that, you certainly can. But here's the final shot. Overall, a simple job. Cost me $60, maybe less, plus the mirror. I think we got this locally for $20, so not a bad renovation, I think.